Hello, people of the internet. Welcome back to my podcast, LiberarLa, El Movimiento, the podcast that I created to inspire, empower, and liberate women around the world. In this episode, I'd love to talk about the man, the myth, the legend, AJ Rivera. You see, August is a very special month for me because it's my father's birth month. When I use the word birth month, a lot of people look at me perplexed. They're like, okay, what are you talking about? I know what a birthday is, but what's a birth month? And birth month celebration started with my father. All of August, he'd be celebrating his birthday. Now, does it mean we're there having cake every night of the week? Of course not. It means that whatever is happening that month, the birth month person gets to dictate. Whether we're going out to dinner, whether we're going out for plans, it's birth month. So they get to pick what's going to happen. I always talk about how us Riveras, we love a good party. And it started because of my father. You know, I think sometimes it's in our blood. But I know that over time, it's not just about the fiestas, not just about the parties. It's about the impact that you create. So let's get to it. The man, the myth, the legend. Because I know I've mentioned my father throughout my podcast a few times, but I have quite a few of you that ask me, why is your dad famous? What is it that your dad does? Why were you raised like that? And it always makes me laugh because to me, my dad is just my daddy. But to the world, he's a lot of things. So let me get to it. I'll break it down to when I first got into the world. You see, my father was born and raised in Tucson, Arizona. I don't think a lot of people realize that he was just a kid who grew up on the south side of Tucson with big dreams and aspirations. A lot of times they see all that he's built, they admire it, and they think that they're far beyond what he has built for us, the life that he has given us. But I was there as my father built our life. I watched as that little boy from the south side of Tucson grew up and gave us the life that we have now. I know what's possible because I've seen it done. You see, when I came into this world, my father was only 20 years old. He worked 3 jobs to maintain my mom and me. And he, at the time that I was born, didn't even have a license. He couldn't drive us. But he knew that once I was coming into this world, that he had responsibilities. He had to provide for us. And so he grew up. He went on to get his license, to get a vehicle, to work 3 jobs to provide for us. And during that process, I always talk about this being his becoming era. You see, I grew up with a father who had these big aspirations and he didn't let them go just because he had kids. He knew he wanted more than what he was provided. Did he know how to get there? Maybe not, but he knew if he continued to put himself in the right rooms, that he'd get there somehow, without a doubt. I'm so set on my ways of knowing that my success is inevitable because I've seen it. My father leads by example, and I definitely have the blueprints of how to create success. So let's back it up a little bit further. I talked about the father I knew growing up, the boy who grew up into a man, but I don't talk about all of his upbringing because it's not my story to tell. However, I will give you a little background for this podcast episode, talking about the man, the myth, the legend. You see, my father was born in 1978. Sorry, Dad, if you didn't want your real age on the internet. Growing up in the 80s, you know, this is before technology took off. My dad's always been a tech geek. He's always been in the latest technology, all the cool gadgets. And he didn't have a mentor the way that I have him as a mentor. You see, my father was raised very differently than I am. He was brought into this world by two parents who didn't really raise him. I talk about how I have the best father in the world all the time, but I really admire the way he has a relationship with us because he never had that blueprint. He was never told how to be a good dad. He was never told how to care for kids. He was never told what to do to be responsible for these children you brought into the world. He didn't have to be told. He just did it. And I think that's just a testament to the way that my dad operates in his life. Because like I mentioned, he's always been a tech guy. He's always been into gadgets. And he didn't necessarily have family or people around him to teach him how to get into those kind of stuff. He just was interested and he learned to figure it out. I bring this story up because there's a story of my father when he was 5 years old and he got his first computer. Now, mind you, I just said my father was raised in the 80s. Imagine getting a computer in the 80s where there's no tutorials. There's no YouTube to tell you how to do it. And most of all, this is not user-friendly process. This is like, here's a manual and maybe you could figure it out. And if you don't, good luck to you because there's nobody else here to help you. And he was only 5 when he got his first computer. You know, I mentioned how my father doesn't know because of his parents how to be a good parent. He just did it. But the one thing that he attributes to his life is the only thing his father has ever provided. See, I don't refer to my dad's father as a father because he wasn't one. He was a sperm donor. That's all he provided. But my dad just doesn't dismiss that. He says, you know, my father did give me the one thing in life that really skyrocketed my interest. When I was 5 years old, he gave me a computer. And that's the story I'm talking about. My father would get a computer at 5 years old in the 80s. And his whole family mentions how they were always amazed at the way his brain worked, the way it operated, the way that it would just tend to figure things out. And that's because at the age of 5, he was given this computer and, you know, his mom, his tias, his nanas, they all came and they're like, mijo, I don't know how to help you with that. I don't know how you're going to get this computer started, but I'm not the one to be helping you with it. I have zero expertise in technology. Maybe after church, I could try to help you figure it out, but I'm really in over my head with this, mijo. And that's what they told my dad at the age of 5 years old. But the thing is, like I mentioned, my dad has always been determined in getting what he wants. And so he wasn't just going to sit there and wait for somebody to come home from church to teach him how to make this computer start up. He was going to figure it out. And yes, at 5 years old, they came back from church and that computer was built. And my dad was playing little games on it. Now, I mentioned this is the 80s, mind you. So it's not like there's tutorials on how to do all this stuff. You just start to become intuitive on how to do it. It's trial and error. And obviously, this is one thing my dad has taught me very well. You either win or you learn. There's no such thing as failure. And I think that's just a tribute to technology. Either it works or it doesn't. Try again. And that's such a testament to life. Either it works or it doesn't. Try again. You see, I always talk about how I have the best mentor in the world. Without a doubt, I know that my soul picked my dad to be my daddy. There's no way I'd be able to operate in this life without him. I am the biggest daddy girl, and I'm very proud of that because I know that the way my father was raised, he was never shown how to be a good father. He was never shown how to be a great tech guy. He was never shown how to own a business and operate it. You know, I have that luxury because of him. He provides that to me, but that's not a luxury he was ever given. Now, I mentioned how when my dad wants something, he has such strong determination that there's no doubt that he will get it. I appreciate so much how my dad has led by example. I think anytime in this world that you are asking somebody to do something, you have to lead by example. My dad has these amazing qualities. He's determined, he's a great mentor, and I'll lead with the last one. I talk about the man, the myth, the legend. That is AJ Rivera. However, I don't think people know all of what my dad is. Now, I mentioned how he started, how he grew up in tech. From 5 years old, he built up his own computer and just continued and trotted on from there. To then have me in his 20s and have to figure out fatherhood with really little experience on how to raise a kid, all while building our life. He would go on to build his multiple businesses to now the life where we experience, where people are like, what does your dad do for a living? Why does he get a DJ for fun? Why are you always going on stages? Why are you traveling to conferences? And I could answer that for anybody who's very curious, but the bigger question is, why did he create the life that we get to experience? The luxury of having our free time, the luxury of having choice, the luxury of knowing our options, because not everybody has that. You see, we've always been my dad's why. We're why he wakes up in the morning, why he continues to aspire to be bigger and better in his life. I'm so grateful for the life that my father has provided to us, but I also know that his love for us is why he continues to be the way he is. Now, you guys know Anthony Rivera, AJ Rivera, the business owner. But now, here's where I get to introduce DJ Flow Space. You see, with DJ Flow Space, I think it's so interesting to tell the story of how my dad became a DJ, because it really feeds into the way I teach and operate in my business. I talk about alter egos and how sometimes you need to step outside of yourself in order to do these great and amazing things. Sometimes you don't believe it's within you. So you need to create this outside character and pretend to play in this character so that you can operate at the highest capacity. I learned alter egos from my father. And I don't think he ever sat down and thought about how he's going to operate his alter ego. All he knew is there's parts of him that don't necessarily align with the person that he shows day to day. You see, if you know my father, you know that he's very humble. He doesn't talk about all his achievements. And quite frankly, he's very welcoming. He will talk to anybody that comes in a room. People don't even realize the great accomplishments that he's had, like talking on same stages as Tony Robbins, like playing with DJ Farah on stage, all these great things that he's done. He's so humble that he won't even mention them to the people around him. And I say this because his alter ego is separate from the man that operates day to day. Now, I mentioned, you guys all know these different names that my father is and ask me why he's famous. But to me, he's just daddy at the end of the day. And I think my dad is so humble in the fact to know that at the end of the day, the best role, the biggest role he could play is to be our daddy. When you meet my dad in person, he normally is very quiet. He's one to sit back and observe. And more than anything, my father believes in peace. He's very non-confrontational, which is honestly polar opposites of what I am. My father, when he comes into a room, he is nothing but the calm and peace energy that you could have around. I admire him so much for that. But I also know when his alter ego takes a hold, DJ Flow Space, that I get to see a little bit of his wild side. That I get to see a little parts that, remind me of me. I always say people don't realize how much an alter ego can allow somebody to really step in to their true power. My father, Anthony Rivera, he's a very humble man. He won't speak too much on his accomplishments, and he'll do anything to keep the peace in the room. DJ Flowspace? You know, DJ Flowspace, he is the electric fire that lights up a room. DJ Flowspace, he stops the room when he walks in because his presence is too big. DJ Flowspace, this man, myth, legend, has been in the making his whole life. DJ Flowspace is who he gets to be outside of fatherhood. It's an identity that he gets to step into and enjoy and fully play out his dreams as a child. I appreciate all the alter egos my father has and the way he showed me to really lean into them. That's why I've been able to operate myself the way I have. I don't think everybody realizes I created Alex James, my stage name, at the age of 7 years old. But needless to say, I've had the blueprint all along. And like I mentioned, this podcast episode specifically, I made to highlight my father's story because I'm in such admiration of him and all that he showed me. And I hope that all these stories had some takeaways to you of how you can be more humble, of how you can be more determined, of how you can achieve anything that you set your mind to. And more than anything, how no matter what you're dealt in life, no matter where you came from, no matter what things might have been thrown at you throughout your journey, your dreams are possible. They're achievable, and beyond being achievable, you are capable than much more than what you've been dreaming of. Stay humble, but stay hungry. The man, the myth, the legend. Anthony James Rivera. Happy birthday, Daddy. Thank you for always being the best mentor in life, even though there's times I haven't wanted it. I'm grateful that my soul chose you to be my daddy. I wouldn't have had it any other way. The best gift my dad has ever given me in life is his mantra. No matter what I'm doing, no matter what I'm going to accomplish in this life, one thing has been made clear to me by my daddy. He tells me, baby girl, I have your back. And that sense of security has allowed me to achieve some amazing things in my life. Because I know no matter what I choose to do in life, no matter what issues I get myself into, no matter what predicaments might occur, I know that my daddy has my back, without a doubt. And that's all because he has made that mantra clear to me. Now, like I mentioned, I hope you had some great takeaways from this episode and all the things that my father has showed me throughout his lifetime. This episode I made specifically for my daddy. The other day, somebody told me, why are you hyping up Tucson? As if there's any good talent to come out of it. I was born and raised in Tucson, and so was my father. And I have to say, shout out to Pueblo, graduating class of 96. Because of my father, I know what's possible. A boy raised on the south side of Tucson who grew up to walk on these stages and teach people how to build their business. The same stage that had Tony Robbins, the same stage that had Alex Hormozi, the same stage that had Russell Brunson, the same stage that had Garrett White. A boy from the south side of Tucson did that. So yeah, I know what's possible if you stick to your dreams. You see, he was just a young boy raised on the south side of Tucson trying to figure his life out. And I have to say, in the last 48 years, I think he accomplished some amazing things. And I also know that this is just the start of some amazing goals to be accomplished. If you enjoyed this podcast episode, then please subscribe to our channel, follow us online, and join our Facebook group. You could find it at my website at LiberarLa.com. I'll see you for the next episode. Support Latino, show love. Sincerely, Alex James.